Today, a replacement to the A part of the FuelTech universal harness should arrive. Then I will be ripping out most of the wiring that I did and replacing that side of the harness and doing it better than I did the first time. The main fuse wire shorted out and burned right up. I feel optimistic about it. I'm looking at the silver lining of things. It's an opportunity to make things better, more reliable, and I just know there are a couple things I could tighten up and hopefully won't have to worry about something like that happening again. That particular fuse, I shouldn't have even taken it off the relay that came with the harness. I basically cut that part from the harness so that I could get the main switch power from the PMU16, which is housed in the glove box, but I think there's a better way to do it. At least in my case. This is not a DIY video. This is me just showing you how I'm choosing to do my thing. So, let's go ahead and rewire the Grey Ghost. First, I'm removing the dashboard to access the ends of the harness that connect to the FT550 and wideband nano. I'm also removing the radio and shift knob so I can pull a lot of these plastic panels out of my way. Also, it's good to not forget to pop the fuse to the battery so I don't accidentally zap myself. I'm going to have to repin some of the wires on the connector to the PMU16 to complete the changes to the harness. Uh-oh. It's a little loose. This is intense. Alright, so here we have got two new smart coils, IGN-1As, and that is because, well, this one seems more okay, and this isn't that bad. I'll show you what happened to a previous one. I did have to replace the first one. I am pretty certain that it's because it was rubbing against the heat shield on the hood, but I've now removed that, so hopefully this isn't a waste of money. I feel good about it. I do. That's not all I got. Here is my replacement A harness that will plug right into the B harness. Yeah, I think these will sit in the glove box this time, and I will probably screw them in. You can see the old harness here. You can see it's hacked up. This one's going to be much better, I promise. I think I am going to use this time. Yeah. Let's see if it's what I think it is. I didn't notice it last time. It's gonna go like that. Now put wires on the back. And yeah, I've got it. Oh. Where's the part that connects? It has to be on this side. I'm a little confused. I think I do just have to unplug this. Oh, what does it look like on this side? Oh yeah, it's right here. It's just a little too butcher to do anything with. Gonna mount this properly this time as well. Let's go this way. Hope this doesn't make it too crowded. I think it'll be fine. I really do. the other side of the firewall, you should be able to see that that boot would fit pretty well, even if a couple things have to slip past it if I didn't have the two 0-gauge wires going from the battery all the way, front of the car all the way to the back of the car where the battery is. So I am going to figure out an alternative route for those, or figure out how to move the battery back to the front. I don't know. Right now, I am pushing out the 0-gauge wires and going across the entire car. I already popped to the fuse in the rear somewhere. I'm not going to hurt myself here. Black and red are ready to come out. Okay. So still in fine condition. Alright, so it's not yet possible to do all of these, but it's possible to do some of them. Gonna remove the coils, the coil harness. I will replace these two coils in the meantime. This one, I need these. It's a little tight on there. Getting a pretty crystal clear look at the imperfections of my engine bay right now. Kind of feels like the pressure is on. Could also be heat causing this. Could be that it doesn't like the way that it was being triggered. It's not that there's going to be a massive difference in the setup. Just sort of learned a thing or two here and there. And I'm hoping that these changes are going to be effective. Let's go ahead and... I did not know when I first got these that hood clearance may be of concern. Now I'm well aware. I want one of those Carbonetics vented hoods. I really like the style they make it in, but I'm also open to other styles. I don't quite want to hack up my own stock hood. I got some Amazon vents in case I did decide to go that route, but I don't know, I kind of want the real deal. And Sergio's great. Got something from him I've got to install in the car sooner or later, but it's almost the off season, so I have plenty of time to make some big aesthetic changes over the winter. Look how rough my valve cover looks. Should I change my valve cover? You know, all these questions pop up, but you gotta stay focused. I've already replaced these wires. This isn't exactly the kind of hobby where you can just decide, oh, I want to do this, and not think about all the variables at play, like how much is it going to cost, or is this a functional upgrade, or am I just doing this? I think these are actually the same. I will go ahead and plant them, because I don't anticipate having to move them. It would be nice to feel proud to show off my engine bay. Right now I just care about functionality, okay? We will keep these for future reference. Wonderful. And they may not even necessarily be bad. It could have been rash for me to decide to replace them. But I don't know. We'll see.
It's time to disconnect the injectors, as well as anything else that may be preventing me from removing the old harness. Much like in my Kiggly Trigger video, I again find myself removing the alternator and disassembling the timing side of the motor. But hopefully, this will be the last time.
I've had to replace my injectors before. Not fun. I don't have a good angle for removal. Gosh, I'm gonna have to take this off and try a little harder. Got the injectors. Now, removing TPS. I don't know if I'll be able to reach it from here. I can. I don't know if you can see it. And I'm using what would be the fuel pressure sensor. I sort of modified it and swapped that 5 volt pin so that I could use it as a vehicle speed sensor. It's somewhere down here. That that should leave just my cam angle sensor and crank sensor, which is directly spliced in. That was a mistake. I'm fixing that this time around. I'm fixing everything. This sight would have terrified me just a year ago. Now, I'm actually kind of thrilled. I'm kind of excited. Gotta get new batteries for this thing. Hopefully the last time I'm doing this.
Time to remove more connectors, including the wideband and cast connector. Soon, I'll be able to pull the rest of the old harness all the way out of the car.
Right. None of my lights are working. This just isn't the greatest tool for this. I'm really setting myself up to get roasted by filming this. Okay. There we go. It's a little difficult to see from here. You're not going to be able to see this. Now that should allow me to pull straight up. This is, I'm pretty sure, my entire wiring harness now. There was a bit of interior wiring, not gonna lie, that was pretty sketchy. It is a little embarrassing, but the reality is, as I've said, this was my first time, this was my first attempt. There were things I forgot about. I was like, why would you ever do this? And I have to remind myself, first time. It did end up being simplest to just cut a lot of stuff out. So now let's see if we can just lift it up. I've got to get under the car. Can't do this with the camera on my head. Alright, this looks real messy now. Finally. I haven't hacked up the new one quite as much as I did this one. Oh my god, I have a mosquito on me. Come on. Okay, I'm gonna go for the cut. apart. Oh right, need heat shrink. Okay, gonna need 2 of these. Okay, TPS. Already, this should be cleaner. Need the soldering iron. Shoot. Well, no, this will be fine. May not be the greatest thing to do on the paint, but who cares? Now, of course I could have depinned this and repinned it so I wouldn't be soldering pigtails, but I prefer pigtails. Pigtails are my comfort zone. So if I end up doing this again at some point, sure, maybe I'll depin it, go that granular, but it's not necessary. I said I'd do it better, I didn't say I'd do it perfect. Alright, so next, I'm going to take care of this. This doesn't really have a dedicated function outside of not being a gaping vacuum leak. It just needs to seal. And this pressure sensor used to go to the oil pressure sensor, but that sensor wasn't compatible with the FuelTech system. Which brings us to our next thing. Got this sensor from Low Dollar Motorsports. Yeah, it's a 0 to 150 PSI pressure sensor. It's gonna go right there, and then we just plug it in. Anticipating that a bit of fuel could leak from this thing, and it should be mounted properly on the firewall. I'll take care of that as well. Should find a good way to mount that. But yeah, that's the fuel pressure. Yeah, the wires come on this side. The pins will go on. These pins are much closer together. This isn't gonna work. Okay, so I know I'm gonna run into a problem here, but first I removed the other. Wow, okay, if I was pinning this connector when I was doing the Kiggly job, I would have gotten it right, because what I did wrong last time was green ended up being ground, middle was signal, far right being red was power, and this one, lo and behold, black, which is green on that one, black is ground, middle signal, the right is power. Okay, I'm not here to complain, I'm here to get the job done. So I'm gonna drop it from the top, maybe a little hard to see, but you're just gonna have to take my word for it if you can't see it. I'm dropping it down, leaving this part up here. Hope it doesn't fall, and if it does, I can always lift it back up.
I'm removing some of the intercooler piping to make it easier to reach some of these connections. It's almost time to start pinning the new connectors and hooking up this brand new harness.
So I am going to start stringing together the engine harness. Just see how far I can get. Wait, should I work on this connector before trying to plug things in? Or can I afford to do it afterwards? I don't know. So now it's time to put this to use with its pins and such. I'm gonna just plug in this time, which I did not do last time. Get the catch can out of the way. We're skipping quite a bit ahead from the last clip. I am currently making a hole in the firewall. Checking the other side again. It should go right through. There's no obstruction. I've just got to commit. I need a 0 gauge hole. Alright, can't lie, I got a little impatient and I did quite a bit off camera because it's just a big job, it's intense, and it's very meticulous at some parts. I added back the IAC valve, may make a couple adjustments there, but it's mostly set up. I wired in everything, I threaded the wires all across the car where they need to go. I filmed doing the fuel pressure regulator. I changed the ends of these wires, the ones that come on the universal harness, so that I could put them onto these bus bars. I drilled some holes, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, for a 0 gauge wire to be able to come through so I could keep the battery in the rear. I was going to move it to the front, but it would just make it a little too crowded. And we're stepping up the crazy yet again, because I am going to be getting rid of this front mount intercooler and switching to an alternative cooling system. This intercooler isn't even necessarily rated for the power level I'm at anyway. This is kind of a bold move, but I'm excited about it. I'm just following Steven's instructions, and here's a little hint as to how we're going to go about that alternative solution. We're going to see how it goes. This is a big experiment, and I love it. I kind of really do love it. The major things that need to be done to get this thing functional, I think I can actually turn it on and check to see if certain things are responding, but I have to pin the VSS sensor, the vehicle speed sensor. I also have to pin crank sensor still. I'm waiting for that to ship out. And I have to remove the intercooler piping. Let's just see what happens. Got a few goodies from local DSMer Chris. I've now got a new VSS, vehicle speed sensor, and I'm putting back on the crash bar. side. Time to solder. New vehicle speed sensor. Alright. Speed sensors hooked up.
Most of the sensors are now connected, so now it's time to reconfigure the PDM and test the outputs on the FT550.
I'm going to write this to the active map. Oh, the car's not on. That's why. Gotta waste time on a one. Okay, as long as I pinned it right, if I try the fan. There we go. Should hear a click for a generic duty cycle. Yep, I hear it. Starter. Alright, starter works. Fuel pump. There we go. What about the PWM valve? I hear it. I've had problems with that in the past.
We've made a ton of progress, but we're still far from done. Stay tuned to find out how I'm going to try and control my IATs without an intercooler, and eventually, how the car handles on the road.